Hey y'all, I'm out here waiting on the golden hour. I guess we're in it of the day. It's one of my favorite times of the day here on this old place. Things get quiet, roosters crow, and the goats bellyache a little bit because they never have enough. I guess if I had my druthers, I'd mute out that road noise. But out here looking at a pasture that's getting ready for planting for the spring and the summer. I hope y'all have had a good weekend. It's been beautiful here in East Texas. Had a little problem with our signal last night, so a little gun shy. I hope it'll hold this evening. I don't know what was going on, but I guess everything has a reason, doesn't it? Y'all sound off where you're at. We'll come back through and talk to you here in a little bit, hopefully, if it'll hold. And say howdy. If I don't do it live, we'll do it after the fact. I always appreciate everybody checking in all over the place as we walk through this old journey we call life, right? I got to give a special thanks to all the stars senders and the subscribers. I wanted to make sure that y'all do know that those of you that have blessed us with those little old stars as a token of support and maybe even a subscriber along the way. We're going to be repainting that house here in a couple of months, and excited about a project of writing Bible verses onto the bare wood before we paint over it. Of course, I'll document all that before we paint over it, but that old house was built on faith. So if you've sent stars or in the past or in the future, and will drop us your favorite verse with your name and location, we'll definitely put it on the side of that house as we get a good paint job. That thing's 100-something years old, so you'll be a part of it. How about that? The email information, of course, you can just message the page, but email is washboardchronicles@gmail. So want to get that out of the way here up front before we talk a little bit, if y'all got a minute. But I guess I was thinking about this broken up pasture, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Randy's been getting after it on that tractor. But I wondered if the delay of last night was to show me another point that I may not have, I wouldn't have brought it up in this regard, I guess, had I been on last night. But I had seen a couple of friends over the last couple of days, or talked with them, and one I caught up with I hadn't talked with in many, many years. And we was sharing old stories of 20, 30 years ago. And he reminded me of the time that he and I went fishing. It must have been 2000, somewhere along in there. And I had one of those bass tracker boats, but I didn't have a truck to pull it. And we lived on the lake, Lake Livingston, with my little family back then. And I had an old souped-up Murray lawnmower that I had a hitch on it, and I hooked up to that boat and would drag it down there to White Rock Marina. It's still there to this day, I believe, that little boat rent for that private subdivision. But and I'd launch that boat, and we'd go fishing. And I'd get back and have to bounce up and down to get weight on them back tires to pull it up out of the water. But when a man wants to go fishing, he gets it done, right? But he recounted the time we was out there fishing, doing all right. And these little old lakes in Texas in the summertime, a little thunderstorm can really make it scary real quick. And one come up on us all of a sudden, and we was filling our gall and didn't get off the lake when we should have, and ended up being okay. But them old waves got to rolling, and we got to a little nervous. And of course, we made it back safe, but good memories. But in a new light, I was thinking about them waves on that lake and how they was just all over us and threatening to hurt us pretty bad and kill us if we didn't handle our business right. But ahead of that storm, there wasn't any extra water in that lake. Not a drop. The wind rearranged the water, and it was causing deep swells and high caps, and y'all know the white caps, and the wind was roaring. And I thought about how that kind of relates to my life sometimes, and things come along, life is what it is, and we'll trouble the waters. But if we've got a deep foundation in hope in Christ, it actually elevates you to a different level, because you're at a certain level, and get on top of that wave, well, you're higher than you were, right? And you come through it, you realize the strength of it. And it correlates to this old ground. Brady, it's good to have a good to have family, and got a lot of good family I'm close with. But those that you get even closer to through work and labor and different things in life become a best friend regardless of family. And Randy and I spent many a night talking out here in this pasture and looking at it, recounting stuff. His mother was raised on this place as mine was, and they went on to meet their reward. So I guess we're next up on the block, but we are really thinking, I guess it was 2 or 3 days ago after he tilled it up, was out here looking at it, and he said, man, you have got you a garden. And I said, oh, wait a minute. What happened to this weed business? Now you got it tilled, it works on me. He got to laughing. No, he'll be right here shoulder to shoulder with all these peas and corn that we've got planned. Life has a funny way, though, sometimes of taking your plans and saying, oh, yeah. So we'll just hope that we've got a good year for a garden and the rain's right and the good Lord smiles favor on it. We should have enough peas to feed Nacogdoches County. But we'll see, right? But sometimes it takes a broken ground. I love fresh tilled dirt. Of course, this is a week tilled old. Got some grass we got to get raked out of it. If I took them seeds that I've got in that house right there and tossed them out here on this ground as is, pretty fat chance they wouldn't come up. They might, but they wouldn't come up near they would in this old broken ground. We didn't add, it's like that water, we didn't add an ounce of dirt to this property. But we raised it up, we tilled the weeds under, let the trees kill off those roots, and we're going to take seeds, plant them a few inches deep, and watch the miracle of God's creation take over, grow a plant and give us substance, right? It kind of looks like my life over time, pretty broken up. Seeds were planted amongst the weeds, but they never really sprouted until a few life storms rocked the boat, broke the ground. God's tiller of sorts makes you realize that maybe you're not as much control as you think you are. A lot of folks like to think they're in control. They can't even control their next breath, right? Science ain't figured that out yet. So we have to trust. It's not on what you do. I heard a story about an old saint of a man that lived to a pretty good old age of around 90. Well, he crossed over to meet his reward. He was there at the gate. St. Peter was there admitting folks. He said, come on up here, sir. And he said, man, I'm glad to be here. He said, well, we got a little questionnaire here we need to do before we let you into your heavenly reward. We're going to do it on a point system over your life. He said, okay. He said, you got to get to 100 points, and we'll let you in. The old man had been a faithful Christian all his life and been a good man. He wasn't worried about it. So Peter said, well, how was your church attendance? He said, oh, man, it was great. Went every time the doors were open. Missed maybe one service a year for 50, 60 years. He said, okay, that's 1 point. The boy said, 1 point. Okay. He said, what's next? He said, did you do any good deeds? He said, man, I served in the soup kitchen every weekend. I gave to the poor. Toy drives at Christmas. Helped the homeless. He said, I was a part of our church ministry, making sure that the hungry of our community were fed. He said, okay, that's 1 point. Old man was kind of getting exasperated. He said, what about your marriage? He said, I had a faithful wife of 60 plus years until I lost her. And never cheated, never lied to her. Loved her, raised our kids in the church. Provided a healthy, happy home. He said, okay, that's 1 point. He said, man, wait a minute. All that, I've got 3 points. I've got to get to 100. He said, yes, sir. He said, well, my goodness, except for the grace of the Lord, I'm never going to get in here. He said, welcome in. Right? I think too many of us try too hard, make it too hard with Christianity, and those that don't know Christ think they'll never be good enough. Think they can't do enough. Well, the problem with that is it's not about who you are. It's about who he is, right? It's not about what you can do as much as it is what Jesus Christ did for us all on that cross. You can't earn grace, and arguably you can't lose it, but you do have to accept it and obey him, right? He's already done the work. I wish he'd come out here and tilled a little bit for us, but I guess he's going to have the tough job of all that seed sprouting and making sure everything comes up like it's supposed to. Be weird to be picking tomatoes off a corn plant. So there are still some absolutes, right? Oh boy, took his two youngins to the fair. This kind of weather, I know spring and fall, kind of gets you in the fair going mood with funnel cakes and all that good stuff. But he took his boys to the fair. They wanted to ride rides, so he bought them a whole handful of tickets, but he knew how his boys were about losing stuff, so he held on to the tickets, and the boys would come get what they needed with each ride. Well, everything was going pretty smooth until his oldest boy come running up for his next batch of tickets and had a friend in tow. Father knew the friend well, had seen him from time to time, but he gave his boys tickets, and young man said, "Can I have a few tickets?" He said, "Well, son, I'd like to help you, but these are my boys, and I've bought tickets for them, and it's divvied out for them only, so I really don't have enough to give you." His oldest boy looked at his friend. He said, "Dad, I'll take a hit. Give him some of my share. Let him ride a ride on my ticket." Right? Back to the cross. Back to what Jesus did for us. Gave us that ticket, didn't he? If he hadn't, we wouldn't have had a shot. That's how I see it. Them old puppies are doing good. They're getting close to going to their forever homes. Of the four, the two boys are leaving, one to my dad's and one to one of our subscribers that lives here locally. And she had intended to come by Friday to see him again, but work schedule of mine kind of took her away from that. But I think she's named that little one Bo, and the other male is Samson. So I thought those were pretty good names. And we'll keep the two young ladies Ruby and unnamed for now, but I'll come up with one, I'm sure, for the other one. But those and the baby goats that were born the same week are all doing really well, and loving these mild temperatures that we got going on. Till that pecan tree buds, it's not time to be free of frost, but it's not going to be a hard one, I don't believe, looking at the long range and things. So we're about to set out our broccoli plants. I got them seed starts coming up. Nights are going to be in the 60s this week. That's just enough to fool these plants. They'll come up, and we don't know what'll happen if a big old freeze knocks them out. But around here, I know West Texas and down southwest, mesquite trees will tell you when it's time to plant. Around here, we look at pecan trees. When they bud, there won't be another frost for sure. May not be one anyway, but they won't bud until it's definitely that. Usually about March 28th-ish. Last week of March is about our frost line these days around here. Looking forward to some pretty plants. I think I'm going to put a hedgerow of those Rose of Sharons. I don't know if y'all know what those are. It kind of looks like a hibiscus. I need something to buffer that front end up there. I'm going to go ahead and put those out. After we get this house painted, I'm going to go old school on this wall and put some hydrangeas. Y'all remember them? Turn them different colors based on a nail in the soil or the pH. So I thought that'd be appropriate to put down that line. Speaking of flowers, there's a tale of a way back in the day. The water bearer for his master back in ancient times would go down twice a day to the river to get water for the household. Take 2 pots, fill them up, and bring them back. That was his job. He did it well. Well, one of them old pots had a crack in it. By the time he got back to the house, it was only half full. And he brought back a pot and a half every time. Well, this went on for years. Made the old pot feel bad that he had just a crack in his pot. Couldn't hold the water like he needed to. He actually talked to the water bearer one day. He said, man, I got to apologize to you. This old crack in myself, I can only hold half that water. By the time you get back to the house, it's all spilled out. I don't feel like I'm doing my job. I'm pretty much worthless as a pot of water. He said, well, I don't want you to feel bad. Tell you what, in the morning when we go out, I want you to notice as we walk down the path to the river, if you see anything different. So they're walking along, and that old broken pot with a crack in it. Noticed a lot of wildflowers blooming on his side of the path, just beautiful flowers. Got to the river, he said, yeah, I noticed there's flowers on my side. He said, well, you see, when I realized you had a crack in your pot, I planted some seeds on your side of the walkway there because I knew that the water sloshing out of your cracked pot would water them along the way, and they'd create a beautiful bouquet that I'm able to take to the master's house every day and brighten the room with beautiful flowers that you watered from your cracked pot. So you see, you have a purpose just as much as the pot without the crack to bring beauty in the world around you. It's not that hard to do with a smile. Randy and I was talking about some things, and we have some pretty deep discussions out here in this old dirt. He pegged it, and I've heard it before, but the turmoil around us and the state of things, I think you can boil it down to people feel hopeless, right? Spirit of hopelessness. As long as a man's got hope, he can dig out a living, he can persevere. But when you lose that hope, boy, it's a tough one. For us, our hope is in Jesus Christ, and you'd be wise to do the same, because that's the only constant hope you can find, at least in my mind. We'll tell you one more for the evening, then we'll do a little roll call, and we may squirrel a little bit based on your questions this evening. I really thought this was a good one. It's told of a professor in his collegiate class. One afternoon, the students filed in like they always did, ready for that day's lecture. As they sat at their desks, the teacher wrote on the board, "Pop test, get ready." Well, everybody groaned and got ready for the test. Well, the teacher handed out all the test papers. It just consisted of one. It was upside down with the text facing the desk. He said, "I want you to turn your papers over and tell me about what you see on the other side. Y'all got 10 minutes. Well, the students flipped over the paper, and lo and behold, right in the center of it was a black dot. Pitch black dot right in the middle of it. Well, they murmured amongst themselves, and everybody was scribbling, writing along. And the professor asked them all to pass in their papers, and he took the pile. He said, well, let's take a look here and see what folks have written about. Every paper, without fail, was an attempt to describe the black dot in the center of that paper. Maybe its tone, whether it was truly circular or not, how wide it was. All descriptions of that black dot. Much to the student's relief, he looked up at him and he said, no grade on this one. It's just a thought experiment. I want y'all to think about all of these answers were around that black dot when it made up less than 2% of that white paper. And not one of you focused on the white around it. He said, you got to be careful in life, because so oftentimes we get concentrated on the trouble or on that black dot in the center of it so hard that we're not able to see the light and the good things around us. And that's so true. I found living on this old place that I'm able to drown out that old black dot most days, and amidst the labor and toil, can focus on the white part of that paper and the good stuff. Y'all remind me of that about July when I'm out here dripping sweat from picking all these peas. all that will fade into distant memory about October, when I'm in there and the cold winds howling and blowing and I'm eating peas from the summer, right? Well, let's see who all's on here this evening. Those of y'all that hung in, I appreciate all the support and the shares of our stories along the way. Y'all know we was working on that podcast. Moving slower than I wanted to. I've got several in the bag, and I'm probably going to do it monthly at this point until we can kind of grow it. But getting those master produced and ready for upload, and I think you'll enjoy some of those conversations. I know I did when we did them. So be looking for that down the pipe as well. Let me post up here and see who all's on this evening. And sun's just about done. Let me get my little spectacles on. Y'all know I can't see nothing on this little screen, thanks to 50. Guess I'm just blessed, right? All right, let me scroll back up here and see what we got here. All these pinned comments, I've got to take those off of here. A lot of folks watching. Let me see, I'm looking for comments. Anybody want to sound off where they're at? And we'll call it a night. Scrolling. Right? I guess I'm going to have to catch up with these after the fact. There we go. Frida's saying happy she caught me live. That's better than being the alternative, right? See lots of friends on. Daria Rosenberg. Really like your post. Grew up in Louisiana. Live in Idaho now with my kids. Yeah, the South's a special place. Of course, I guess wherever home is a place to be, right? Whether it's north or south. Fred, I believed for years I could never be good enough until I understood grace. God is so good. That's right. I'm afraid that keeps a lot of folks away from God, thinking they'll never be able to live up to his precepts. Well, I think most of us are good and decent people, and if we desire for that relationship and we strive for it, and dig into the Word, then I bet we can find it if you try, right? His grace is sufficient. Let's see, Ruby and Diamond would be great names. Yeah, that is, Diamond is a good, strong name, Mary. I might surely consider that. I hadn't thought of that. That would work. Ruby's named after my grandmother, but that kind of still goes along. That's pretty neat. Blake William, hope I have a good day. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for that comment. I'm looking here. Got lots of folks. I usually don't call your name out unless you comment. That just, maybe you just want to watch, and that's all right. I know I'm going to miss some folks. I might catch up to you after the fact. Trish Maddox, love to hear your stories. Keep them coming. I'm excited about something I am going to do. I put it off, but I'm not sure where I won't do it live. Not for now, but I've got a big old book of Uncle Remus stories in there. And I'm going to have to, now I'm South and I speak Southern and I speak the dialect, but if y'all read the unabridged version of Joel Chandler's masterpiece of Uncle Remus stories, if once you sound it out, it makes sense to a Southerner, but reading it in print's a whole nother ball game. So having to finesse that a little bit, but I always want to sit down around a little fire or just somewhere kind of in the woods and read those stories from my childhood, because I really was endeared to those. And I don't think we see that much anymore. So I'm going to give it a shot, and maybe you can get your kiddos to look at a few of them and bring back some memories for you. All the tales of Burr Rabbit and Burr Fox and Burr Bear. Boy, there's the Tar Baby. I'll remember all of them. That was good stuff. Between that and Winnie the Pooh and some of those old American stories like, let's see, what was it? John Henry and Babe and the Blue Eye. All those stories grew up with. I think I'm ready to start that project here pretty soon, now that the weather's getting a little nicer. But we'll see how to roll that out real soon. Rodney, busy and cold in Georgia. Good to see you. Good to see you too, buddy. There's Tom Griffith. God bless you and be safe. Good old Sydney, Kentucky. How about that? All right. And Shelly Day, thank you for letting me listen to words and walk around your farmstead and what you meaning are from Utah. All right. Sorry, I need to make this print a little bit bigger. There's Miss Mandy. I know right where you're at. I'm looking your direction, but I can't see you that far through the woods. Hope all is well out your way. Elizabeth Lumpkins, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Need these reminders from time to time. Well, I can tell you, I'm preaching to me with every one of them. I meditate on them and think it through, and I guess I'm just looking for the simple stuff. Well, there's a comment that's always cool to see. My little grandbaby Sutton and my daughter Faith are watching out South Carolina way. Little Sutton calls FaceTime quite often, and we have to take a tour of the animals. She calls me Chicken Pawpaw. I guess there's worse names. I'll take that with pride. I think I was dubbed that by my oldest granddaughter, Isabella, up in Illinois. But whether I have chickens or don't have chickens, that's what they call me. So I guess we're high time for another FaceTime cam with Sutton. The other day I got tickled. It was right after I had the baby goats, and I don't think I shared this. They called me one morning, and I didn't really realize how many animals I had in the house. So we had the puppies had just been born, so Sissy and 4 puppies were in a little kiddie pool in my bedroom, and then I had 2 brand new baby goats in a kennel up toward the front of the house, and then I had, I think, 8 baby chickens that were about 8 weeks old in a brooder on the back porch. Well, I'm taking Sutton through, FaceTime and showing her all the little baby animals and things of that nature. And I got to the chickens, and then I got to count in my head how many animals I had in that house. And I'm like, my Lord. And I hadn't said anything, and all of a sudden Sutton went to laughing. She's, 2 or coming up on 3, but she has got a vocabulary. But she said, she exclaimed to her mother there in the FaceTime, she said, Pawpaw's got chickens she said, Pawpaw's got animals everywhere. I said, yeah, I better liquidate some of these. So that's the day the chickens went to the chicken yard, and we started clearing out a few of those animals. But love that little old girl. Love all my grandbabies and my kiddos. But good to see her checking in tonight. Let me scroll on down now that I'm rambling. All right, Kat, you've already got fed. Several seed packs, Mandy says. Can't hardly wait to start them. Well, I've got mine started. My broccoli plants are up. My tomatoes are about to pop through. I didn't see Pat on here. I guess she hadn't said anything. My Aunt Pat up in Pennsylvania, that is. Pat remembers Uncle Remus. Let's see here. Nanette from Tennessee, how are you? Remember my time on the farm. Thanks for sharing. That's from Pat Ransom. She wants to see the animals now, Faith says. We'll go look at a couple of them. They're starting to bed down for the night. This backyard is turned into a menagerie right now. I've got the baby goats and the puppies, and y'all know how they are. They're dragging stuff all over the place. Let's see what we got here. Sissy, you got things in control back here, sweetheart? And Jordan's new dog, named Serenity, by way of Alabama. Let me turn this around, y'all. There's Ruby. That's Rennie for short. There's Sissy, and there's a baby goat. There's a baby goat. And pieces of paper they've drug out all over the place. There's a little black one that got hit. She's going to make it all right. But all the puppies are doing well. I've got to get out here and catch a shot of it because it's something to see when they come piling out of this igloo here. And it's funny, all the goats and the puppies jump in there. But all is well here on the farm. We're going to call it a night. I hope y'all have a good evening and a good week. And appreciate all of y'all doing all the support and kind words. And I'll check the comments and sound off along the way for those that catch after the live. Y'all be the light, make a difference this week, and show you smile. Talk to you later.